What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Lakers Legacy. Last night, the Timberwolves defeated the Lakers 124 to 107 in the first preseason game. Now, this really doesn't mean much. We didn't have like five of our really good players, of our rotation players. Neither did the Timberwolves, really. So this was just kind of a feel-out game to see how some of the rotations were going to look, how if some of the new players or the players from last year took a jump, and if we can see a noticeable change in their game from last season to this season, that can indicate anything for how they'll perform in this upcoming season. While I was watching the game, I took a few notes, mainly just in the first three quarters and half of the fourth quarter maybe, because after that we kind of just subbed everyone out and let some of the young guys get some run in. So I'm just going to be going over that, what I saw in this game, and what I think about all these things going forward. So the first thing I really noticed was that we shot a ton more threes. I know that's one of Reddick's emphases, I guess. That's how you say it. That's one of the main things he's looking for, is for us to shoot more threes. And I think we started the game shooting 3 to 5 threes in a row, which if we can make them, it'll be amazing. But I don't know if we have the right personnel in order to be jacking up a ton of threes. Like, we have some pretty decent three-point shooters. LeBron shot over 40% last year. I don't know exactly what D'Lo's percentage was or Reeves' percentage, but they can shoot from, like, if they're wide open and from time to time with a hand in their face. So I don't mind us looking to actively search for more threes in the first couple possessions of the game. That'll space the floor, especially if we're hitting. It'll space the floor, give AD more room to operate, give LeBron more room to drive, and without anybody clogging the driving lanes, and he can find wide open players on the weak side because of his amazing passing ability. So I think that's a good thing that we're trying to do, where we're trying to set the tone on the offensive end by shooting more threes. Another thing on the offensive end that I really noticed was that there was a ton more movement. There was a ton of more small little actions to get into our offense, that if it broke down, then we would go to an isolation or go to a pick and roll, where last year that wasn't really the case. We didn't really have any movement in the start of possessions, maybe once every 5 possessions, but now we're consistently going into our actions or into a little set that gets us moving first before we get into isolation or pick and roll and the shot clock gets below 10. One of them was a little pitch from one guard to the other, and then there was a back screen or a screen, and then a drive and a kickback, and then a rescreen. And then there was also a little half Iverson cut, kind of, where one of the guards would just come across the top to the other side, and then we would initiate action that way, either into a wrap or into just a ball screen off of that. But there was a bunch of little things that we were trying to get to in order to facilitate movement and get our players not standing still and making their defender clog up the passing lanes and driving lanes. So I think that's really good, and as we get more comfortable within the system and we learn the personnel more and we get more used to the lineups on the court, we'll be able to kind of do these with our eyes closed, essentially. Like, we'll know it like the back of our hand. So we'll just be able to do it right off the bat every single time, and I feel like that will get us the best quality looks. Now, of course, late in the game, we're going to go to probably LeBron and AD pick and roll. That's what is our most effective option down the stretch when we need our 2 best players to have the ball in their hands. But for the rest of the game, to get our other players open and more involved, to get AD more space, LeBron more space, I think these actions can really help going forward. Now, it is just first game of preseason, so take it with a grain of salt. Everything can change. These sets are not certain or set in stone. So I'm just glad that we're getting more movement, and I'm sure the coaching staff will make adjustments based on what they saw from the defense in this game leading up to opening night. Now, getting into individual players, I think the winners of the night, in my opinion, were Max Christie, Dalton Knecht, and Jalen Hood-Schifino. So Max Christie kind of did it all. he made an emphasis in his media day interviews that he was trying to be more of a defensive menace and pick up full court, which I like. As long as he doesn't get beat and plays at a disadvantage, then I think it can really help us take off 5 to 7 seconds of the shot clock while he's pressuring and maybe get a steal or two in the process. But he was really good at pressuring the ball. He was good at fighting around screens and getting to closeouts. He's always been a decent rebounder because of how athletic he is. So I'm glad to see him take another step on the defensive end, even though I already think he's one of our best point of attack on ball defenders. His offensive game seems like it's developing also. If you see me looking down here, I'm looking at my phone. I have my notes here. He also upgraded his shooting. It seems like his shot is a little more fluid and he's more willing to get to it off of the catch. He's always been a decent slasher. He's athletic enough to go finish at the rim. So I think him developing his mid-range shot, which he was pretty decent at, and his long ball will help tremendously in the offense and when he gets open shots off of our little actions and sets. The next guy I thought was a winner was Jalen Hood-Schifino. He seemed serviceable. He seemed like he could be a backup, maybe like a third string point guard. But if Gabe Vincent isn't having a good game or if one of our guards gets injured, he can probably slide into that backup role. He was good off the dribble. He didn't really turn the ball over, except that first time he fell over himself or something. I thought he was going to turn it over, but he managed to pass out of it. I kind of laughed and put my head down when that happened because it was like his first play in the game. So I didn't really see what happened exactly after that. But he got to his mid-range. He was making some pull-ups, and he's always had a good mid-range game. And coming out of college especially, that's one of the main things he had was operating in that 15 to 20 foot area. So I'm glad to see he's getting more comfortable using that and using his playmaking ability to help the offense. Okay, the last guy is Knecht. I think Dalton Knecht is legit. He's one of those guys like Jaime Hawkins Jr. from last year who stay in college for 4 years. They have tons of experience and they know how to play the right way. Knecht is always on balance, looking for a shot. He sprints the floor. He plays great defense with his hands straight up. He just does every little thing right, which you'll get to know. Like, I pay so much attention to all the little details that the players are doing and the coaches are doing. Those things matter. Those things add up. They show the habits that you've built over the years. And he seems to have a ton of really good habits that can translate to the NBA game. So I'm really excited to see how he does and how he cracks the rotation because he definitely will get minutes. I just want to see how many he'll get in the first couple of weeks of the season because I think he'll be a real force in a couple of years and can impact winning right now. Like, he can go on 6 to 8 point runs on his own and hold his own on the defensive end. So I think he'll be a very great addition to the rotation come regular season time. Now some of the ones that are kind of rusty or I didn't see as much out of in last night's game. First was Rui Hachimura. I feel like he's looking to shoot more, which is good because I think he is a pretty good shooter, but some of his finishing, he just seems out of control. I noticed it last year a lot. He tried to go to his left a ton and get to a little left-handed layup or pump fake, and he would reverse pivot into a little leaning hook shot kind of thing to his right. I don't know if it's just me or if he looks a little out of control when he does these things. It looks like he gets stuck a little bit and then he tries to compensate for it by like doing another move and trying to get his defender off of him again, and that just kind of leads to not a great shot being taken. And then in this game yesterday, I'm not saying it'll be the same thing for the regular season, but he seemed to put his head down after he missed a couple of shots in a row, which I don't want to see. I'm fine with him shooting and missing shots as long as he's getting back on defense and making up for it on the defensive end, which I know he can. So I'm not worried about him. I'm just observing what I saw from last night's game. I think he'll be completely fine come regular season time. And same thing with this other guy. I think Austin Reeves was a little bit rusty in the beginning. He kind of caught his stride towards the second quarter and the third quarter when they were still in the game. But he looked a little like his legs were kind of out of it a little bit, which is understandable. Come back from summer. He probably had a lot of workouts or a lot of time off, so he's not used to playing that many minutes, staying on his feet that much, and the intensity of those games. But kind of like last year when he came straight from USA basketball, and he was kind of had dead legs and he had to work his way into it. I think it'll be like that process, but quicker this year. So you could already see it in the second half. He kind of got back into what he usually does: playmaking, facilitating, getting to the basket, drawing fouls, which he's so good at. So I'm not worried about him. And the last thing is the coaches. I think they're they're definitely an upgrade, but I think they'll be better than people expected. There was a lot of talk that I saw of them drawing stuff up on the whiteboard, and they were talking to players individually. They were looking back at film. So I think that it'll be a much better system and we'll have much better adjustments than last year. So I'm looking forward to that as well. But that's about it. If you have anything that you saw in the preseason that causes concern or that makes you excited for the upcoming season, leave it in the comments below. I'll be covering any news that comes out. The Lakers play again tomorrow night. I believe this will come out on Saturday. They play tomorrow night at 6:30 against the Suns. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll cover some pregame stuff probably and postgame stuff again. But thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.